I'm Eros-Lookum23, you're joining me for Edge of Extinction, Episode 2. The journey to Tromstead covers hundreds of miles and many days, but the hope of finding other survivors drives you forward. Having Shadow at your side helps make the arduous journey bearable, and timely spell of mild weather permits steady progress. Even so, by the time you reach Tromstead outskirts, your supply of jerky is running dangerously low. Cresting a hill, you pause to look at the buildings below. Tromstead isn't a large city, but compared to the villages you've encountered so far, it looks like a sprawling metropolis. From the vantage point you see, the coastal city is divided in two by a massive bridge with half the mainland and half on a nearby island. Now that you're finally reached your destination, you feel a cautious optimism. There are no visible signs of life, but you don't let that dampen your spirits. We didn't come this far for nothing, Shadow. We're bound to run into somebody. The prospect of finally seeing another living person gives you your weary muscles renewed vigor. Digging your poles into the snow, you push off with your skis and propel yourself along the snow-covered streets. The early winter dusk is looming as you round a corner and spot something of interest. A large sled parked in the middle of the road. The sled is piled high with supplies, and it clearly hasn't been here long. No snow covers its cargo, and its tracks are clearly visible. You look around but don't see anyone. With Shadow at your side, you approach the sled carefully. You see snowshoe tracks coming to and from the sled with numerous directions. The tracks appear to be of two very different sizes. Suddenly, two gunshots ring out in the distance, their faint echoes reverberating off the surrounding buildings. You can't tell what direction the shot came from. You listen for another one, and instead you hear a wolf howling. Several scenarios rush through your mind. The shot could be for a hunter or someone being hunted. You're torn between the urge to help and the certainty that running into a random direction would be a foolish and reckless plan. I'm gonna hide. You came to Tromstead desperate to find other survivors, but now that you know someone else is here, you feel anxious and uncertain. Probably just being paranoid. Too long being isolated and alone, but better safe than sorry. You do your best to wipe away your tracks in the snow, then duck behind a nearby building and settle in with Shadow. Peeking around the corner to keep an eye on the sled, you don't have to wait long before two figures, one male, one female, come into view. Even from a distance, you can tell they're both tall and athletic, and each carries a rifle slung over one shoulder. Part of you wants to rush to them. Survivors! People! Yet you remain where you are. They exchange a few words before grabbing the straps on the sled and setting off. You can't be sure, but you think they're speaking Russian. Staying at a discreet distance, you follow them through the city until they reach a church near the city coast. You recognize the distinctive ultra-modern structure from a tourist brochure you saw long ago, Tromstead's famous winter cathedral. Crouching behind a small stone wall on the edge of the courtyard, you watch another man emerge from the building and help unload the shed. Suddenly you hear a sharp voice from behind you. "You kill! Fleet!" You wheel around to see a young man, barely 20 years old, standing only a few feet away. He has a rifle pointed at your chest. Shadow growls softly, but you reach down slowly and put a reassuring hand on her neck. "Premier, de adieu." He was clearly agitated, the gun wavering between you and Shadow, speaking in a low, calm voice, hoping to buy time. "I'm sorry, I don't understand." "Who are you? Why are you spying on us?" His English has a thick accent you can't quite place. It might be Middle Eastern. He takes a step forward and repeats his question, his voice rising slightly. "I don't mean any harm. I'm not a threat. I came to Tromstead looking for other survivors. I was being cautious." The man studies you for a few seconds and lowers his weapon as he decides you're telling the truth. "Grace will want to meet you. Come on." He leads you into the courtyard. The trio unloading the sled look up. One of them, a tall, handsome man in his mid-30s, steps forward. David, who is this? What's going on here? He pronounces the name with a short A and a long E. David. David. I'm still calling him David. Got this one skulking around the perimeter, taking him to grace. The man hesitates a moment, evaluating the situation. The other two, the man and the woman where you were following earlier, watch intently. Guess I can't blame you for doing a little recon, but there's no reason for us to be enemies. My name's Joseph Mumbuya. There's a faint and unusual, to your ear, accent. There's a melodic quality to his words. He extends his hand, elation at the sound of another human voice mixes with fear and distrust. But you came to Trump's Head looking for survivors. I'm John, this is Shadow. You shake Joseph's hand, and you can sense the tension leaving the rest of the group. You've already met David, and this is Pavel Tedorov and his wife, Anna. He points to the couple you were following earlier, and they both nod in greeting. Listen, we don't have to do this in the cold. Pavel, Anna, David can unload the sled while we go inside and introduce you to the others. Let me help with the sled. We got off on the wrong foot. The least I can do is pitch in and make myself useful. Spend the next few minutes helping move supplies into the church. Inside are several more survivors, all of whom eye you curiously. But taking their lead from Joseph, I wait until you finish your task before approaching. Once the work is done, he leads you in shadow into the center of the cathedral. You are not alone. Everybody gather round. We have a newcomer to our little group. This is John and Shadow. A mixed murmur of greetings spills out. Several of the people smile or raise their hands and wave. Going to assume your grace. On the back, a stern-looking woman of about 30 comes forward. She's wearing military fatigues and has an unmistakable air of authority. This is Grace, and she's sort of the leader here. I'm not the leader. We decide things as a group, consensus when possible, or majority vote. Words are short, clipped, as if she were giving an official status report. Unlike with everyone else you've met, you don't register her accent. She's probably American, but you can't guess the region. Don't sell yourself short, Grace. None of us would be here without you. You brought us together and led us to this church. Joseph extends his arms and turns in a slow circle. Everything you see here, the generators that give us power, the heaters that keep us warm, this community we built is all because of her. We built this together. Everyone contributes in some way. Everyone is useful. Everyone serves a purpose. It's how we survive. I'll earn my keep. I know how to make myself useful. Grace looks you up and down, measuring you against some personal standard. We'll see. You'll have a chance to prove yourself. Show that you belong. But if you turn out to be dead weight, you won't be welcome here. And with that, she turns away and heads outside, leaving you in Joseph's care. Grace can be a bit blunt, but I think it's her military training. She was stationed at the NATO base in Stavanger before all this happened. So, your story. How did you end up here? Me? Well, you can tell by my accent that I'm not from Norway. I was born and raised in Senegal. I went to France for my graduate studies, and then I ended up here. Senegal to France to Norway. That's quite the journey. It is, but a few years ago, Stavanger University offered me a research position. I couldn't turn it down. I'm a geneticist at least I was before all this. When people first started to get sick, my team, like many of the other scientists around the world, raced to try to find a cure. But research takes time. That's the one thing we didn't have. One by one, we succumbed to the illness. Somehow I survived the fever that took almost everyone else, but by the time I recovered, society was gone. I wandered around for about a week, starving, desperate, before I stumbled across Grace. You didn't continue your work? Why didn't you keep searching for a cure once you got better? It's not like we were close. We had barely scratched the surface of the problem, and all my focus was on staying alive. If the group hadn't found me, I wouldn't have made it. Right place at the right time, I guess, like most of us. Take David, for example. He's Israeli, but he comes to Norway to work the oil rigs in the North Sea. Lucky for him, he was in Stavanger on shore leave when everyone started getting sick. If he was out on the rigs, I don't think he would have made it. And Anna and Pavel are Russians, and you probably guessed. Anna was in Norway training for the Winter Olympics biathlon. Pavel was her coach. Come on, the others will want to meet you. Joseph takes you through the church, showing you a makeshift home that they've cobbled together as he introduces you to the rest of the group. First, you meet Hilde Peterson, a local woman in her mid-50s, a former government bureaucrat. Hilde oversees the group's rations out of the church's supply room. Next is Dag Larsson, a man of at least 70 who serves as a radio operator, sending calls for survivors to come to Tromsted and monitoring for replies. Neither Dag nor Hilde speaks English, so you ask Joseph to thank Dag for you. Without his efforts, you wouldn't have found the scribbled note that led you here. When Joseph conveys your message, Dag says something in reply that brings a loud chuckle. He says he's glad you came, but he's disappointed you didn't get the message to bring cigarettes. We haven't been able to find his brand lately. Keep my eyes open. Tell him to write his brand down for me. If I happen to find it, I'll bring him back as many packs as I can carry. Joseph conveys the message, and Dag responds with a wide grin and a laugh before scribbling his preference on a piece of paper. The introductions continue with Sofia Torres, a lawyer from Brazil who was vacationing in Norway. When Joseph introduces you to her, he does so in French. You don't speak English?
Only a little. French, Italian, Portuguese, yes. English, no.
Marco Bianchi is next, 40-something Italian man. Portly and well-dressed, he has a look of a wealth and privilege, not that either will help him in this new world. Marco was in Stavanger on business. He only speaks Italian, but he's trying to learn English, Norwegian, and Portuguese. Are we all looking at one another? I think I know why he's learning Portuguese, you think, glancing back at Sophia as Joseph leads you to the next person. And this wonderful woman is Mari.
Hello. Very pleasure to meet you. Welcome to us, church.
So pretty much everyone visiting speaks a varying language. She speaks in halting, uncertain English. Two things jump out at you. She's very young, probably still a teenager, and she's very, very pregnant. Nice to meet you, Mary. So, like, literally 3/4 of these people are resource drains, in my opinion, for survival of the apocalypse. Mari nods and casts her eyes down to the floor. She says something to Joseph in Norwegian, then slips away. She says to please excuse her. She's tired and needs to lie down. She's pregnant? That's rough. I can't imagine what she's going through. Is she okay? I wish I could tell you everything is fine, but that wouldn't be true. This is her first child. She's terrified of giving birth under these conditions, and nobody even knows if the child will be able to survive after it's born. I think she's suffering from depression, but none of us know which drugs or medicine might help. Not that she would take antidepressants anyway. She wouldn't want to risk harming the baby. If there's anything I can do, I'd like to help if I can. I appreciate that. But for now, we just do our best to be supportive. And someone always keeps an eye on her, just to make sure she doesn't do anything drastic. The baby will probably come next month. Until then, all we can do is hope for the best. But enough of this doom and gloom. You haven't met Louis yet. He's sure to brighten anyone's day. He says the name with a strong French inflection. Louis. You follow Joseph to the back of the church under the Winter Cathedral's famous pipe organ. A young man is sitting on the floor with his back propped against the wall. He smiles and scrambles to his feet, greeting you with a deep bow. He points to a guitar in the corner and rattles off a few quick lines in French. Joseph responds in kind before turning back to you. Well, at least we won't have to worry about speaking to like 90% of these people. I'm sorry. Louis doesn't speak much English, but he's an excellent musician. Whenever we're feeling down, he plays his guitar to lift our spirits. You're lucky to have him. These are dark times. Anything that brings a little light into the world is a blessing. Well said, my friend. Well said. We must nurture the mind and spirit as well as our bodies. Speaking of which, you must be exhausted after all that's happened today. Let me show you where you can put your things. Joseph leads you through the church, and you notice the sleeping bags and small tents set up in nooks and crannies. Some of the tents stand alone, others in groups of 2 or 3, but each grouping is far enough from the others to give a little bit of privacy. Here, this corner can be yours, at least for now. Go ahead and settle in. Thank you for showing me around, for taking me in, for everything. My pleasure. I know it can be tough, so many names, so many faces, but I think you're going to like it here, and we're happy to have you. It's been a while since someone new showed up. It reminds us that there are still people out there, somewhere. It gives us hope for the future. Sometimes it's all we have. Hope kept me going when I was trudging across 1,000 miles of frozen nothingness. It's a powerful thing. I agree. Without it, there wouldn't be much point in going on. Joseph gives you a smile and a final nod before he goes, leaving you in shadow alone. As you set up your tent, you notice others glancing in your direction and then quickly looking away, caught between curiosity and desire to give you privacy. The adrenaline of discovering others starts to fade and exhaustion sets in. The hundreds of miles you've crossed to get here all seem to catch up with you at once. You finish setting up your tent, crawl inside, shadows quick to follow. You wrap yourself in your sleeping bag and drop off almost instantly. You wake to the sound of Joseph calling softly to you outside your tent. Hello, John? Are you awake? Let me sleep. Is everything okay? What is it? Is something wrong? No, nothing like that. I just brought you something to eat. You must be famished. The mention of food causes your stomach to rumble. Any lingering fatigue quickly gives way to hunger. Climb out of your sleeping bag, unzip your tent, and crawl out. Shadow follows close at your heels. It's just soup. Some dry food for Shadow. Don't worry, it's not contaminated. He hands you a bowl. Another bowl is sitting on the ground, filled with kibble. Shadow eagerly accepts his gift, gobbling down the food with a joyous abandon. You take the bowl from Joseph with both hands. It's warm, but it's not too hot. Wisps of steam fill your nostrils with the scent of chicken noodle. Sorry, we don't have anything fancier. In the perfect world, we throw a banquet in honor of your arrival, but we do make what we got. At least it's not jerky. This isn't what I ordered. This is perfect. This is just what I needed. Thanks. You tip the bowl back to your lips and take a sip. Joseph watches with a raised eyebrow. I have a spoon here, if you want. Spoons are for the weak. I've been alone too long. Gee, thanks for knowing. I've been alone too long. I have spent so much time on my own in the wild, I forgot spoons even exist. It can be hard readjusting to society, even one as tiny as ours. Joseph hands you the utensil with a warm smile. You take it from him and finish the entire bowl in less than a minute. It's amazing how good something as simple as soup can taste, isn't it? I guess that's one good thing. The collapse has taught us to appreciate the little things. So I would really appreciate chicken soup then. Like, seriously, I already appreciate it now. The collapse? That's what we've been calling it. The sickness, fever, contamination of the food supply, the end of society as we know it. How much do you know about what happened? Less than you, I bet. I spent a few weeks hallucinating in a cabin. By the time I recovered, it was basically over. It actually started long before people started getting sick. We just didn't know it. It was some kind of pathogen in the crops. Nobody knows what plant it started in, but they quickly spread. Carried by bees, insects, even pollen on the wind. Wheat, corn, rice were contaminated, every fruit and vegetable in every country around the world. The pathogen mutated the crops, changed them permanently, made them toxic, but at low levels the toxins had no visible effects. His voice is flat and clinical. It's almost as if the only way he can recount the tale is by blocking out all of his emotions. Over time, the toxins began to accumulate in the world's food supply. Animals ate the plants, and the levels built up in their systems. We ate the infected plants and the infected animals, and the toxins kept accumulating in us. Eventually, they reached critical mass. People started getting sick, dying. At first, we thought it was some kind of flu outbreak. Millions of people all over the world, it became an instant global crisis. Unfortunately, by the time we isolated the cause, it was too late. All of our food was contaminated, and everyone was already infected. Joseph pauses, as if gathering his strength. When he speaks again, his voice has an undertone of pain and regret. Around the globe, scientists race to find a cure. My team worked desperately, day and night, hoping for a miracle. But more and more people were getting sick and dying. Billions of people, all at the same time. Countries, institutions around the world were overwhelmed. My team couldn't get the resources we needed, and then we fell sick ourselves. The story was the same everywhere. There was no miracle cure, casualties mounted, panic set in. Society collapsed. In just over a month, thousands of years of human culture and achievement came crashing down. But it wasn't just humans. Animals were affected too, right? Many were, but not all. Humans and other mammals were hit especially hard. Birds, reptiles, fish, they seem to have survived in greater numbers. But they still have an accumulation of toxins inside them. Even if they aren't showing any symptoms, if we eat them, we still get sick. That's why so many people who survived at first didn't make it. They ate contaminated food, got sick again, and died. Even if they knew not to eat the food, they might starve, or die of exposure or accidents, or give up all hope and take their own lives. I came close to the breaking point myself, where I found this group. I thought about ending it all. I thought about it too. There were times when I thought I might be the last person alive, when the only future I could imagine was utter loneliness and endless hunger. There were days when giving up seemed like the easy way out. The only way out. Luckily, I always found something to keep me going. I think that's a natural reaction. The survival instinct is strong, but we're social creatures. We aren't meant to live alone. That's why I care so much about the group. Why we all do. Together we feel like we have a chance at the future. Grace has given us that hope. Which reminds me, Grace has to speak with you alone. Sounds ominous. Can I be worried? You'll be fine. Grace isn't your enemy. She just wants some one-on-one time with you so she can figure out where you fit in with the group. I think she's outside, taking her turn on guard duty. Better bundle up, looks like a cold night. Taking Joseph's advice, you wrap yourself in your gear and head out of the church. Shadow follows close at your heels. You see Grace and David standing together on the porch, chatting. Grace addresses you as you approach. John, I hope Joseph has helped you get all settled in. He's been a very gracious host. Joseph just wants everyone to get along. He's too trusting. There's almost a hint of bitterness in his voice. Grace gives David a sharp glare, and the young man slinks away. As he's gone, she turns to you. David is still upset that you were spying on us. I suppose I am as well. I was just being careful. I didn't know anything about you or your group. I think you would have done the same in my position. You might be right. I certainly understand why you did it, but some of the others thought it looked suspicious. David, Pavel, Anna. Still, I think we can put that behind us. I'm more interested in what you have to offer going forward. Give me a job and I'll see to it, ? As I mentioned before, everybody here pitches in. Most of us take turns going on scouting, supply runs, or we take turns at guard duty. I'm sure you can handle those tasks. That's enough to earn your keep, but some people bring other skills to the table too. Dag works the radio, for example. If you have any special talents or knowledge that would help the group, I'd like to know. Okay, weapons and tactics, I'm a cop. Medicine, I'm a doctor. I'm just a survivor. Nothing I can think of. Huh. Interesting, interesting. So we would, in a way, get to either bandage people and heal people, or be on guard duty. Okay, I'm just a survivor. I managed to cross 1,000 miles of ice and snow to get here. Does that qualify? Your survivor isn't that enough? I was hoping for something more medical training or electrical engineering. Sorry, nothing like that, but like you said, I can go on supply runs, I can handle a gun, and I know how to look after myself. I'll do my part, and the group will be stronger for it. That's all I can offer. Well, that and Shadow, everyone loves dogs, right? I can't argue with that, but it's, not only me you have to convince. I wasn't kidding when I said we decide things as a group. You'll have some time to prove yourself. See if you fit in, and then we'll vote to decide if you stay. Choice works both ways. After a few days, I might just decide I'm better off moving on. You have that right, just as we have the right to ensure the safety and security of our group. If your presence threatens that, you have to go. How would I threaten it? Like, this isn't the zombie apocalypse. I'm not Negan. There isn't any malice or threat in her words, just a resolute pragmatism that makes you realize arguing would be pointless. I understand. Is there anything else? It's a bit chilly out here. Gray shakes her head, and you go back inside to the warmth of the church, thinking on all that's happened. A few days ago, your only goal was to reach Stromstead and find other survivors. But now that you're here, you realize that was just the first step. These people aren't the monsters you feared. They aren't the saviors you hoped for. They're people. Just like you. This isn't the end of your journey, but rather the beginning. Oh, wait, hold on. Reputation system. Best friend. Neutral, 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 neutral. Okay. Alright, thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Head down in the description below, links to social media, Discord, and if you'd like to support me and my content. Speaking of which, if you guys want to play this game, or any apps really on PC, I've included a link down in the comment section below. Check it out, and yeah. You can play on PC. It's no problem whatsoever. Also, consider hitting that bell icon to receive notifications, and consider hitting the join button to join the official Locums Locos, and it's a great way of supporting the channel as well. And thanks for watching. Catch you all in the next video. Peace.